Hello, my dear friends. How are you doing? Hope you are having an amazing day and not having to deal with drama. Ready for new stories I have for you today? Let's go to the first one. And don't forget to listen to the end of the story, guys, to hear my insights. Enjoy the stories. And don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. I, 28, male, got married a few months ago. I'm still trying to process all the fallout, so forgive me if this is long. I need to vent, but also genuinely want to know if I handled this wrong. Because right now, my parents are telling everyone I shamed the family, and some extended relatives have started calling me heartless and attention-seeking. But I don't think I did anything wrong. To understand the whole story, you need to know a bit about my family. I'm the oldest of two. My younger sister, Chloe, 22 female, just graduated from university, and my parents have always treated her like the second coming of Christ. I'm not even being bitter. This is an objective fact anyone in our family would back up, even if they wouldn't say it out loud. Chloe is brilliant, talented, attractive, socially gifted, you name it. But more than that, my parents have always bent over backwards for her. She wanted horseback riding lessons at 8. Done. She wanted to study abroad twice. Paid in full. She mentioned liking a car she saw in a movie once. It was in the driveway by the time she finished the sentence. Meanwhile, I've worked since I was 16, took out loans to get through university, and was told adversity builds character every time I needed help. Still, I never held it against Chloe. I mean, it's not her fault she's so amazing and the golden child. She didn't ask for that. We're not super close, but we're on good terms. It's really my parents I've always struggled with. So, a year ago, I got engaged to my longtime girlfriend Natalie, 27F. We've been together since college, and everyone in our lives was thrilled for us, including my parents. Or at least they pretended to be. We started planning the wedding pretty early. We picked a date that worked for both our work schedules, Natalie's family, who would be flying in from out of state, and even checked with my parents before locking it in. They said it was fine. We sent out save the dates, booked the venue, made deposits, all the normal stuff. Everything was going smoothly, until about 5 months before the wedding. That's when my mom called me out of the blue and said she and my dad needed to discuss something important. I assumed it was wedding related. It kind of was, but not in the way I expected. They wanted me to change the wedding date. Why? Because they were planning to take Chloe to Japan as her graduation gift, and the week she wanted to go overlapped with the wedding. Yes, you read that correctly. Not that they were already booked. Not that they had some immovable commitment. No, Chloe had said she wanted to go to Japan in late March, and that happened to be the exact week our wedding was scheduled. So they wanted me to move the wedding to accommodate her milestone. At first I thought they were joking, but no. My dad said, and I quote, "Son, we just feel this is an important moment in Chloe's life. She's worked so hard, and this is her dream trip. She wants to go during cherry blossom season. You can move the wedding to any other day. We need to prioritize this." I was speechless. I literally asked, "You want me to move my wedding so you can go look at trees in Japan?" They didn't laugh. I explained that we'd already made non-refundable deposits, that Natalie's family had booked flights, and that it would cause a huge logistical nightmare. My mom said, "Well, that's unfortunate, but family comes first. Chloe only graduates once." At first, I was stunned. I really thought they were joking. But when I realized they were serious, dead serious, I was honestly too exhausted to fight. I didn't want to beg my parents to attend my wedding. I didn't want to go through the emotional gymnastics of convincing them that their son's marriage should be more important than a vacation, even if that vacation was in Japan during cherry blossom season. So I said, "Sure, I'll look into changing the date." I didn't scream. I didn't argue. I kept my voice calm and neutral. My mom exhaled, clearly relieved. My dad said, "Thanks, son." That really means a lot to Chloe. She was worried you'd be difficult. And then they happily went off to finalize their trip. But here's the thing. I never actually changed the wedding date. Not out of pettiness. Not out of revenge. But because that date was perfect for us. Our venue was locked in. Our vendors were confirmed. My in-laws had booked time off and travel. Shifting everything would have cost thousands and created a logistical nightmare. So instead of engaging in another exhausting back and forth with my parents, I just let them believe I would change it. I figured if attending my wedding wasn't important enough for them to double-check the new date with me, then maybe they didn't deserve to be there. So Natalie and I moved forward with our plans. Same venue, same date, same everything. The wedding happened exactly as scheduled. And it was beautiful. Natalie looked like something out of a dream. Her parents gave a heartfelt speech that had the whole room in tears. Our friends and extended family laughed, danced, celebrated. It was one of the happiest days of my life. But, of course, people noticed that my parents weren't there. At first, most guests assumed they were late, and finally they just asked me directly, "Hey, is everything okay with your folks? Where are they?" I didn't lie. I said, "They're in Japan with my sister." Some looked confused. Some tried to play it off. Everyone clearly thought it was odd, but no tried to question further. We just carried on with our day. Then the photos went up. As you can probably guess, the moment wedding photos started circulating online, tagged on Facebook, posted to Instagram, and shared in family group chats. The truth started to spread like wildfire. My parents had no idea the wedding went ahead. They thought we'd postponed. They were still in Tokyo when one of my cousins commented on a post, "Can't believe they missed their son's big day." I didn't get a call. I got an explosion. My mom left me a voicemail sobbing. My dad followed up with a furious email that sounded like it had been drafted on a war council. They were blindsided, humiliated, betrayed. How could I do something so deceptive, so spiteful? Didn't I realize how this would make them look? That last part really stood out to me. Not, "We're sorry we missed your wedding." Not, "We wish we'd been there." But, "How does this make us look?" They said extended family were asking uncomfortable questions. People from church were calling them. Friends were wondering why they chose a vacation over their son's wedding. My parents had no way to spin it now because, in their minds, I had set them up to be shamed. My dad wrote, "You manipulated this entire situation to make us look like bad parents. We trusted you when you said you'd move the date. You weaponized your own wedding to punish us." I didn't reply right away. I was still reeling. I'd hoped they would be embarrassed, sure. I'd hoped the contrast would finally hit them. That maybe they'd realize how messed up it was to ditch your son's wedding for a vacation. But I didn't expect them to double down and paint themselves as victims. When I finally responded, I kept it simple. I wrote, "You chose to believe Chloe's trip was more important than your son's wedding. You never confirmed the new date. You never even followed up. I wasn't punishing you. I just stopped trying to make myself a priority in a family where I've never been one." Now, I'm being labeled the manipulative one, the heartless son, the bitter brother who set a trap. A few relatives are even siding with my parents, saying I should have told them I hadn't changed the date, that I was deceptive, that I used the wedding to make a point. And sure, maybe I did, but not in the way they're claiming. I didn't fake anything. I didn't make speeches calling them out. I didn't mock them or tell guests to shame them. I just told the truth when asked. The optics of them missing my wedding. That's on them. They made their choice. They just didn't expect consequences. So, Reddit. Am I the a-hole for telling my parents I'd changed the wedding date, not changing it, and letting them find out through photos that they missed the wedding? I think OP is not in the wrong here. They didn't confirm the date. They didn't care enough to double-check. They were too busy planning a cherry blossom Instagram tour to bother being present for one of the most important days of OP's life. The fact that they're more upset about how it made them look than about missing their son's wedding tells everything. OP didn't shame them. They shamed themselves. OP just gave them the courtesy of the rope. They hung their own reputations with it. And now let's hear community's opinion. Golden child syndrome strikes again. Your sister gets a dream vacation. You get gaslit, guilt-tripped, and now blamed for not moving your own wedding. Your parents don't want accountability. They want control. You handled this with more grace than most people would. If anything, you gave them exactly what they asked for. They just didn't expect the social fallout when their choices had consequences. Not the a-hole. Soft, everyone sucks here. You technically lied to your parents by saying you'd move the date, and you knew they were going to miss the wedding. That said, they showed zero interest in your big day and clearly favored your sister's vacation over your marriage. So, while I get why you did it, and it's hard not to admire the poetic justice, it does make things messier. That said, your parents are the bigger a-holes here by a long shot. They earned this fallout, not the a-hole. Honestly, the most tragic part of this isn't that they missed your wedding. It's that they still don't get why it matters. They're mourning their reputation, not the relationship. They wanted the perks of being the proud parents of the groom without doing the actual work of showing up. You didn't deceive them. You just stopped cushioning the reality of their neglect. Let them stew in the consequences. You have nothing to feel guilty about. I've 24 female, 2 kids, 1.5 female, 5 months male, with my husband, 24 male. He comes from a wealthy family, so he used to be all excess, alcohol, parties, anything you name. He used to be a player too, until I got pregnant with our first kid. I won't go into much detail about it, but we had to put up with a lot from each part to make it work. He went to rehab for a while, and after that, he decided to walk away from the family business to avoid relapsing in his former vices and making something of his own. He truly is a great husband and a much better father. In August of this year, a woman, Pam, came into our house with her 4-year-old kid, claiming that my husband was his dad. She started to yell at us, saying that she was going to sue him for child support and that he was going to regret leaving her alone. My husband was so distressed with the thought of his child growing up without a father that he was willing to do anything to make it up to him, until my mother-in-law, a lawyer, told him that the first thing he needed to do was to get a paternity test. Pam refused at first, saying that my husband had not only left her, but now he wanted to humiliate her even more by doubting her. Keep in mind that my husband doesn't remember this woman at all. She isn't one of his exes, so he doesn't know if he truly left her alone. She ended up agreeing after my mother-in-law told her that no paternity test meant no money. They got the paternity test at the end of August, but since the cases rose suddenly here, it wasn't possible to have the results quickly. In that time, my husband bonded with the kid. We used to let him come 2 or 3 days a week to play with my girl, until he said that he could come over every day without talking to me first. I have a baby, and between my oldest and him, he is crying all the time because they kept going into his room all the time. I told my husband as much, but he is so thrilled with his presence that he told me to handle it. He also started to spend more time with Pam because he wanted to know more about the kid. We never told him that my husband might be his father because we don't know if he truly is, but they are so alike that it hurts. Finally, the results came a few days ago, and my husband is not the father. This broke him a lot because he truly cherished him now, and I do too, but it's hard. When we told Pam, she broke down too because if my husband isn't the father, then she doesn't know who is then, and she begged my husband to take him since they get along so well. She says that her son deserves a dad, and my husband has all the means to be one. We didn't say anything at the moment, but yesterday, my husband sat me down and told me he wants to do it. He wants to be his dad, but that he won't do it if I'm against it. So I said no. I don't want him to be the father of someone else's kid. We told Pam, and she said that I was a petty bee for depriving a child of a parent. I'm so conflicted. I don't want to cause harm to a kid, but the picture hurts a lot. Not the a-hole. You and your husband need to get into couples therapy ASAP. This woman tried to scam your husband and threatened him over a child that is not even his. And now he wants to make a permanent commitment, even knowing she lied, and permanently involve this woman in your life and the lives of your children. You need to lay down some serious hard boundaries ASAP. And yes, seriously, marriage counseling, stat. Not the a-hole. This is definitely a weird situation, but I truly do not understand why your husband would want to be a father to a random person's child, especially considering you have your own kids. You make it sound like Pam was just a hookup, so it's absolutely bizarre to me that this is happening. Not the a-hole. It's been maybe 2 months of knowing this kid, and the mother is guilt-tripping you. And as far as your husband goes, it's great there's a bond, but what? We're talking August of this year, right? This is weird. 10 years ago, my ex-husband, 45 male, cheated on me, and I, 46 female, was devastated. We started couples counseling because I wanted to see if we could save the marriage for the sake of our children. However, after the woman my husband cheated on with me had a baby, she sued him for child support, and the paternity test revealed he was the father. I did not sign up for this and filed for divorce. My ex begged me to stay and would do whatever it took to fix his mistake, but my mind was made up. Since then, we've managed to become excellent co-parents with 50-50 custody, and because my ex has a lucrative career, He's able to provide for our children quite well. He's also very active in our children's lives and is more than willing to keep the kids longer if I ever feel overwhelmed. A few weeks ago, I received a message on social media, and it turned out to be the woman my ex slept with. She was reaching out to me because my ex refuses to speak to her directly and always has his lawyer do the talking for her. She knows how involved my ex is with our children and wants the same effort put into hers. She says that he only pays the court-mandated child support and not a penny more, and her child keeps asking to meet their siblings. I asked her what she expected me to do about it, and she asked me to help coordinate family outings so that the children can get to know each other better and to convince my ex to be a more involved parent. I told her that if my children wish to have a relationship with their younger sibling, I won't stand in the way, but assisting and facilitating is not my responsibility. I told her that I wasn't her ally and to please leave me alone. She responded that since our children have the same father, it is my job to help make sure that they have a good relationship with their sibling, and that by not doing anything, I'm setting a bad example. I still don't believe it's my job, because she and my ex are that child's parents. But I just wanted to know, am I the a-hole for not doing more? Edit. Just to clarify, my children are 15 and 13, and their half-sibling is 9 or 10. Not the a-hole. She's an experienced homewrecker. If she wants her child to have siblings with whom to have a direct relationship, she can find another man to sire some with her. Hopefully, someone who is not married at this time. You owe her and her child absolutely nothing. You are a much better person than I am to even consider allowing your children to have a relationship with this child of your ex-husband's affair. It is not the child's fault how they came to be. However, you and your children are not to be expected to be openly welcoming them into your lives. This woman sounds like the type of person who would crap on your head and expect you to thank her for the hat. No. That is their shared father's responsibility if it's anyone's. And since he has made it very clear that he won't do anything except give financial support, she's just out of luck. If she wants to talk about setting bad examples, maybe she should examine her own behavior, i.e., sleeping with a married man. Not the a-hole. She's an a-hole for demanding help from someone whose marriage she helped break up. Your ex is an a-hole for cheating and for treating his other child like they don't exist. This is not your circus, and these are not your monkeys. She should be thankful that you aren't actively opposed to your children having anything to do with hers. Not the a-hole. It was her responsibility not to sleep with a married man. It is her job to co-parent with him. There is no place you haven't met your responsibilities. It is time she figures out how to manage her own. My 20 female brother, Cam, 25 male, has been dating his girlfriend, Jane, 26 female, for a year and a half. Cam works in a warehouse 1 hour 30 minutes away by train, so he's gone before Jane wakes up and often comes home pretty late, so him and Jane don't get much bonding time. Around 5 months ago, there was an issue with the trains where we lived, and many were delayed, meaning Cam had to get a hotel room overnight a few times a week. He had called Jane about it, but she never picked up or looked at his texts. He just assumed she was asleep or busy, as it was pretty late. Well, Jane has seen all his texts and calls, but decided. He had been cheating, and so decided to switch his lube to an oil-based one. For those of you who don't know, oil-based lube mixed with latex condoms deteriorates the material and makes it an ineffective barrier. You might as well go raw. Well, Jane put the lube and condoms in a travel bag in the wardrobe and checked them every day when she got up to see if Cam had moved them. After 5 months, they hadn't, and I guess Jane forgot about it. Then they had S and used the unlucky combination, and Jane got pregnant. We only found out about all this because Jane spilt it to Cam, and Cam was obviously upset and left to mull it all over. He's currently crashing at our parents' house where I am also currently living. Yesterday, Jane showed up at the house whilst I was home alone, asked to talk to Cam. I said he wasn't there, and she broke down and said she felt super guilty about it, and that she doesn't want to be a single mother. She asked if I was Cam, would I ever forgive her? And I replied, well, what you did was ducking dumb and deceitful, so no. She broke down even more, and after a few minutes left. I felt guilty, but what did she expect? She went out of her way to change the lube so it would make contraception ineffective. Did she want this hypothetical mistress to get pregnant? When Mom and Cam got back, I told them Jane had been around looking for Cam. I told them what I said, and Mom did the full name you're in trouble voice. She said I was out of line for tormenting a pregnant woman. Cam wasn't super pleased about the whole situation and said I should have just said nothing. Now they're both mad at me. Am I the a-hole? Edit. I'm sorry for not adding this in earlier, but Cam is getting a paternity test. He says if it's his, he'll stay, and if not, he'll bounce. I know Jane knows about the test, but not about what he'll do if it's not his. Not the a-hole. I don't think you're an a-hole. I think you're correct. Also, you're sticking up for your brother. However, you should have minded your own business. I bet your brother goes back to her. I wouldn't hate her. If she actually learns from this, she may be a good wife and mother. But you don't know what your brother wants to do, so you should have kept your mouth closed. Still, I don't think you're the a-hole, just rash. Not the a-hole. She played stupid games and won stupid prizes. She clearly talked to you looking for a right answer, and you're not obligated to indulge her BS. Sure, you can be nicer, but if someone pulled that crap on my brother, I would have zero empathy for them too. Depending on where you are in the world, what she did, intentionally damaging contraceptives, constitutes aggression. Frankly, your brother should be pushing for sole custody instead of having the kids be raised by someone like her. Not the a-hole. She did a horrible, reckless, downright evil thing, and should not ask anyone about the prospects for forgiveness unless she's willing to hear duck no. She wants absolution. She should see a priest. Some background. I, 25 female, left my ex, 32 male, back when I was pregnant, due to the traumatic aggression he put me through. He and I hardly spoke, and when our son was born, he did not come to see him. He denied being the father, and had everyone in his town believe I was an S who banged everyone. When paternity test came back as 99.99998%, he handed me custody with no fight. I remember watching his new girlfriend storm out of the courtroom when the results were announced. He attended visitations for a few weeks, then suddenly stopped. Few years passed. I moved and started attending college while he still lives with his parents. In July 2020, our son turned 5. My ex had been invited to every birthday celebration and never showed, never called, never sent a gift. Just an hour after my son's birthday party, I was scrolling Facebook and happened to see my ex's mother had posted a congratulations to her son, who had gotten married earlier that day. My ex never called to wish my son a happy birthday, never sent a text, gift, or card, but had the time to get married on the one day of the year where I feel he should be spending his time with his child. I took screenshots of the post, every comment, every picture, and posted it on my timeline, calling my ex out for being a deadbeat, not worthy of being called a father. His mother and some of his family came to try to defend him, so many of my friends and family, and even strangers, came to my aid and wrote about how much of a POS he is. My fiancé had said, "I've known this child for 3 years, and not once has his so-called father ever been there or been involved." Now, almost on a weekly basis, I have his family message me telling me I'm an a-hole, POS, how my son will be ashamed of what I have said about his father when he grows up, and how I'm somehow the reason my son has no father. Am I the a-hole? Being obsessed with his whereabouts and lack of interest in your son does nothing for your son. Everyone sucks here. Move on. Your son does not need his mother to be bitter, vindictive, and immature. Don't play yourself and pretend that you did that for him. He does not have a father. Your Facebook tantrum did not fix that. Nothing will. What? It's not immature for a mom to expect the baby's father to be involved in his life? Or angry that he isn't? Sadly, many men fail at this, but they definitely deserve to be called out on it. I agree, though, that this isn't going to change the fact that the father has abandoned his child, at least emotionally. And what the hell with getting married on your abandoned son's birthday? Is he claiming it was a coincidence? 365 days in a year, and they choose this one. Not the a-hole. Everyone sucks here. Why are you forcing a relationship between your son and his father? The father clearly does not want it. Your son should not be put through a roller coaster of emotions where he expects to see him. He handed you custody. He wanted nothing to do with having a child. I think he made it clear that he does not want to be involved in your son's life. Why would you cause more drama and try to go after him? It sounds like you both moved on. Your behavior is just going to be a constant source of negativity and a constant reminder that your son's bio dad doesn't care. So, last month, my ex, who I've been dating for nearly a year, broke up with me. It was a complete blindside. I thought everything was great and we were talking about getting an apartment together next year. Then we went to a party where she saw her most recent ex. A few days later, she told me that he talked to her that night and said he realized how bad he ducked up when he saw her with another guy, me. He's now ready to give up his vices for her, and she's sorry, but she still loves him enough to want to give their relationship another try. I was shocked and hurt as hell, but what can I do? I can't force her to stay. I was miserable for weeks, but now I just want to settle things and move on. And one of the things that needs to be settled is the $4,000 that she owes me. We never talked about how or when she would pay me. Back then, all I thought of was that she was my girlfriend. She needed money for a valid reason, and I had money to spare. I wanted to take care of her problem because I wanted to take care of her. I told her to pay me when she had money, and she's been paying me a couple $100s every now and then. I was fine with that because she was my girlfriend, but it's not something that I would do for everyone. Now that we're no longer together, I've been thinking about asking her to pay me the $4,000 by the end of the year. I know it sounds petty, but honestly, now that she's no longer with me, and given the circumstances of our breakup, I don't feel as inclined to be lenient to her with money as I did before. I also want a clean break, so I can totally move on from all of this. I don't like the idea that I'll still have some sort of communication or connection with her for the next few years, if it takes that long for her to pay me. You're the a-hole. You're totally entitled to want your money back, but giving her less than a month to come up with $4,000 is obviously unrealistic. Talk to her about paying you back with regular payments, maybe every month, and hopefully she'll set up a direct debit or something, and you won't have to interact with her at all after that first conversation. Asking for it all this month is almost certainly going to get you nowhere if she doesn't just have it spare sitting around. You're the a-hole. You're being unreasonable. You expect her to give you $4,000 in 26 days. That's ridiculous. You've said in many comments that you don't think she'd swindle you, but you just want it over and done with. Understandable. However, unless she's making an obscene amount of money, there is no way you can expect her to pay you all of it in 26 days. Talk about a payment plan, and that's that. Not the a-hole, but $4,000 by the end of the year is a big ask. $1,000 a month for the next 4 might be more reasonable. Update. So I went ahead and called her and nicely asked if she would pay me back at the end of December, because I just want a clean break so we can all move on. She said she understood, and she'll see what she can do. I later learned that she sold her car to her boyfriend, who let her continue using the car. In short, she got paid and she kept the car she sold to pay me. Great ending for everyone. But then a few weeks later, she called me saying she wanted to talk. She and her boyfriend went to my apartment and told me the craziest thing. She's pregnant. And with that, I've accepted the fact that I will never get the clean break I wanted. It's been 3 months since then. We did the paternity test and confirmed that I'm the father. She and her boyfriend are still together, and he is in counseling as a sign of his commitment to her. The main reason she left him before was that he had a drinking problem that he couldn't control, so I was concerned that she was staying with him while pregnant. He assured me that he's turned over a new leaf for her, and he will stay with her through this. She says that things are great between them, and he is completely sober now. We all try to get along as best we can for the baby.